Welcome back to the Only Pools podcast. I'm TK, the guy who once tried to clean a pool with a kitchen mop because, hey, it's water, right?
And I'm Brian, owner of AquaServ Pools, the guy who's now terrified for TK's neighbors.
You down with OPP? Yeah, you know me. You down with OPP? Yeah, you know me. You down with OPP? Yeah, you know me. Dive into discussions, no topics too small. From kiddie pools to water parks, we cover it all. We got pool parties and cannonballs too. If it's about water, we talking to you. Interviews with experts and stories to share. From poolside barbecues to water care. We got tips and tricks to keep your pool right. Listen in the morning or at the late night. You down with OPP? Only Pools Podcast. You down with OPP? Every last homie. Only Pools Podcast. Let's go.
Hey, it worked. Kind of. All right. Today's topic is for all the procrastinators out there. What happens if you don't take care of your pool? Brian, I'm guessing it doesn't magically clean itself?
Nope, it doesn't. A neglected pool can turn into a swamp faster than you think. We're talking algae blooms, cloudy water, clogged filters, the works.
So basically, it's the swamp level in a video game, but in your backyard?
Let's break it down. What's the first thing that happens if someone skips pool maintenance? For, say, a few weeks? First, debris will start to build up. Leaves, bugs, dirt, they'll all collect on the surface and sink to the bottom if you're not skimming regularly. That stuff rots and your water starts smelling, well, not great.
Rotting leaves. So it's like making compost, but in your pool.
Pretty much, except instead of helping your garden, it's just ruining your water quality. And that's when algae starts to show up.
Algae, the pool's version of an unwanted roommate. How bad can it get?
Real bad. If you let algae take over, it turns the water green, and it sticks to every surface. The walls, the floors, even the ladder. And trust me, it's not a hose it off situation. You'll need to scrub and use algicides to get rid of it.
Okay, so algae's gross and clingy. Got it. What about filters? What happens if you ignore those?
If you don't clean your filters, they get clogged, which means your pool pump can't circulate the water properly. No circulation means no filtration. No filtration means bacteria.
Yikes, so your pool turns into a giant bacteria jacuzzi. That's a hard pass.
Exactly. And if you ignore it long enough, the pump can overheat and fail entirely. Then you're looking at expensive repairs or even a full replacement.
All right, so let's sum up. Ignore your pool and it'll cost you money, time, and probably a tetanus shot. Good to know. But let's be real, Brian. Some people just don't have the time for a weekly pool chore. Any hacks or lazy on well-maintaining owners?
Sure. First, invest in an automatic pool cleaner. It won't replace everything, but it'll save you a lot of effort. Second, stay on top of chemical levels, even if you only test the water every couple of weeks. That's better than nothing. And third, consider hiring a pool service if you're really strapped for time.
Oh, so this is where you shamelessly plug AquaServ, huh?
Of course. But seriously, a pool service can save you a ton of hassle. We handle everything from cleaning to balancing the chemicals, so your pool stays in great shape year-round.
Okay, final question. What's the absolute worst thing you've seen for somebody ignoring their pool?
Oh, I've seen pools so green, they look like a golf course pond. One time, a customer called us because frogs had moved in. Full-on frog colony. It took us hours to clean it out.
No way. Did you charge them extra for evicting Kermit and his friends?
We should have, but seriously, that's what happens when you let things go too long. Maintenance isn't just about aesthetics. It's about keeping the pool usable.
All right, folks. You heard it here first. Clean your pool or risk starring in your very own episode of Swamp Monsters. Thanks for keeping us educated and slightly terrified, Brian.
Anytime, TK. And remember, if you don't want frogs, leaves, or green water, take care of your pool or give us a call.
That's all for today on the Only Pools podcast. Stay lazy, but not too lazy, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Welcome back to The Pool Point, where we talk pool care with a splash of humor and a whole lot of straight talk. Today's topic, evaporation versus leaking pool. Because if your pool's losing water, it's not always what you think. So here's the situation. It's a hot day. You go out to check your pool, and bam, the water level is lower than it was last week. The panic sets in, and you immediately think, oh no, my pool is leaking. And you call me up all frazzled, asking, why is my pool losing water? But let me tell you, before you start plotting your pool's funeral, let's talk about evaporation first. That's right, folks. Water evaporates. It happens. The sun is a relentless beast, and when it gets hot enough, that water just disappears into thin air. Especially if you live in a dry area or it's been a hot week. Evaporation can be the real culprit. Now, before you start eyeing your pool with suspicion, here's a fun fact. Pools typically lose anywhere from a quarter inch to half an inch of water every day due to evaporation. Sometimes even more, depending on the weather conditions and how many water features you have running. So, if you're seeing a gradual drop in the water level, that's probably the reason. Think of it like your pool sweating it out under the sun, just trying to cool off. But now, let's say you notice that the water level is dropping way faster than you expect. It's noticeably lower. And I mean really lower. If your pool is losing more water than an inch of water a day, that's when we might need to talk about the possibility of a leak, a real leak. So, how do you tell the difference between evaporation and an actual leak? Simple test. Turn off your pump, mark the water level with a piece of tape, and let it sit for 24 hours. If the water level drops, even when the pump isn't running, you might have a leak. But if the water level drops about the same as it would normally during a hot day, then congrats. Your pool is just getting a little too much sun. Now for the folks who are convinced their pool is leaking. Here's something you should know. Leaks aren't always obvious. Sometimes it's a tiny crack in the plumbing, a small hole in a liner, or even a faulty valve that's letting water escape. If you suspect a leak, it's time to bring in a professional to track it down. I'm not saying your pump's secretly plotting its escape, but yeah, a leak can be sneaky like that. Remember, most of the time, what you're seeing is just a natural process of evaporation, and it's not the end of the world. Just add a little water back in and keep an eye on it. However, if you're going through gallons of water every single day, well, that's when you should start calling in the experts. So, in conclusion, if your pool's water level is dropping gradually over time, don't panic. It's probably evaporation. But if it's dropping at a rate that would make Niagara Falls jealous, it might be time to check for leaks. Either way, the good news is you've got options. So, that's it for the pool point. Until next time, remember, your pool's not going to just disappear, unless, of course, you let that leak get too serious. Until next time, remember, just keep swimming.
You down with OPP? Yeah, you know me. You down with OPP? Yeah, you know me. You down with OPP? Yeah, you know me. Who's down with OPP? Every last homie. You ever go swimming, man? It's so much fun. Now we got a podcast joining everyone, talking about pools, the stories we share, from backyard splashing to Olympic fair. We got chlorine, pH, and filter tips. Keep your pool fresh, avoiding no slips. With hosts so cool and guests so neat. We're dropping pool knowledge that it can't be beat. You down with OPP? Only Pools Podcast. You down with OPP? Only Pools Podcast. You down with OPP? Only Pools Podcast. Who's down with OPP? Every last homie. Dive into discussions, no topics too small. From kiddie pools to water parks, we cover it all. We got pool parties and cannonballs too. If it's about water, we talking to you. Interviews with experts and stories to share. From poolside barbecues to water care. We got tips and tricks to keep your pool right. Listen in the morning or at the late night. You down with OPP? Only Pools Podcast. You down with OPP? Only Pools Podcast. You down with OPP? Only Pools Podcast. Who's down with OPP? Every last homie. O is for only, the best place to be. P is for pools, come dive in with me. P is for podcast, we talking weekly. Only Pools Podcast, the one and only. Grab your goggles and your floaties too. Tune in to our show, we got stuff for you. Poolside chats to aquatic news. Only Pools Podcast, you can't refuse. We teach you how to clean, how to keep it clear. The best pool stories that you'll ever hear. From summer fun to maintenance prep. Only Pools Podcast, we're your best bet. You down with OPP? Only Pools Podcast. You down with OPP? Only Pools Podcast. You down with OPP? Only Pools Podcast. Who's down with OPP? Every last homie. You down with OPP? Yeah, you know me. You down with OPP? Yeah, you know me. You down with OPP? Yeah, you know me. Who's down with OPP? Every last homie. Only Pools Podcast.